everyone, this is Carrie with Everwood Creations. Today, we're going to talk about the Transform Objects tools in Vectric VCarve. I am using Vectric VCarve Pro 9.5, so remember, things may be a bit different if you are using a newer or older version of the software. The Transform Objects button allows you to change objects that are already in your workpiece. This section consists of 6 tools. We have Move Selected Objects, Set Selected Object Size, Rotate Selected Object, Mirror Selected Object, Distort Selected Object, and Align Selected Object. Let's take a look at what these tools are used for. First, we have the Move Selected Objects button. This is pretty straightforward and allows you to enter coordinates to place an object in an exact location. You can start by selecting an object you want to move, or you can just hit the button and then select the object. The first thing you will want to look at is the anchor point. As we've discussed before, this anchor point allows you to choose which corner of the object will be moved to the specified location, or if the center of the object will be used. Next, you'll need to determine if you want to enter in an exact location for the anchor point, or if you want to move it relative to its current position. Selecting Absolute will move the anchor point to the coordinates you enter in these boxes. If, however, you are just looking to move the object a few inches to the right of where it is, you can select Relative and then enter 2 into the X position box. When you hit Apply, the object will move 2 inches to the right. As far as practical application, it is much quicker and easier to use your mouse and move objects around the page yourself in dynamic mode. But this tool allows for a lot more precision and placement. Let's say you have 4 squares and you want them all to meet at a specific point, like the exact center, for instance. The center of your piece is always going to be coordinates 0, 0. So we can select the first square, set the anchor point to the lower right, and use the Absolute Move option and put in 0, 0 for the coordinates. This moves the square accordingly. For the next square, I'll select the lower left anchor point, and then enter the same coordinates, and boom, they're now touching. Now we can just select each square in turn, change the anchor point to match the corner we want to touch the center, and line them all up exactly. With the easy dynamic mode and snapping options that Vectric offers, you probably won't find yourself utilizing this tool too often, but it's there if you need it. Now let's move along to a tool you will likely use far more often, the Set Selected Object Size tool. With any object selected, you can use this tool to change the overall dimensions of the object. When you enter this menu, you will first want to select your anchor point. This is the point of the object that will remain in its current position. So if you select the upper left point as your anchor, making the height different will result in the bottom moving up or dropping down, while the left corner will stay where it currently is. Changing the width will move the right side closer or farther away from your anchor point. If you would like the object to stay where it currently is, choosing the center point as the anchor will change any height and width evenly from all sides of the object. Below the anchor box, you have the option of changing width or height of the object by either typing in an exact dimension or by using a percentage of the object's current size. Before changing a dimension, you will want to decide if you want to keep the object in its current proportion. If you want to change the width and height evenly to keep the object in proportion, you will need to make sure this box labeled Link XY is checked. This allows you to change one dimension and automatically changes the other dimension to match. If you know the exact height and width you want, then uncheck the Link XY box, and you can enter both values, transforming your object to your exact dimensions. An important note, if you have multiple vectors that are in a group, the set size function will treat the group as a single object and the dimensions you enter will be the dimensions of the group. The individual components inside will be resized accordingly. You'll notice there is a grayed out Auto Scale Z checkbox down here. That is something you only have to worry about if you're working with a 3D model. There is also a dynamic version of the set size function, which means that you can click an object once to highlight it, then click it again to enter dynamic mode. Grabbing any of these boxes allows you to change the size with your mouse. You can also enter exact dimensions in this mode. Simply grab a box and move it, then type the dimension you want it to be. It will automatically set the box to that dimension. So grabbing the bottom box here and typing a number and hitting enter will change the height of the object to that number. You can adjust both the height and width by grabbing a corner box and typing numbers followed by W and D, where W equals height and D equals width, which seems odd, I know, that W changes height and D changes width, but that's what it does. So if I grab the corner box on this square, I can type 5W and 6D, and the size automatically changes to 5 inches high and 6 inches wide. Now we will move on to the Rotate tool. If you click on an object and then enter the Rotate tool, you will notice that a double circle appears in the center of the object. That double circle is called the pivot point, which is the point that will stay stationary while the rest of your object rotates around it. When it comes to rotating an object, the default is to have the pivot point in the center. Once you open the tool, you can grab the pivot point and move it anywhere you like, changing how the rotation will work. You can also grab the black boxes and rotate the object in dynamic mode. If you want more precision for your pivot point, you can use this box to set it on any of the 4 corners of your object or in the center. See how the coordinates change based on which of these circles is selected. You can also enter exact coordinates, if you know them, by selecting Use Coordinates and typing them in these boxes. Once you do that, you can go back to dynamic mode, and the object will rotate on the pivot point you specified. With the pivot point where you want it, you can also set the exact angle to rotate in this box. The angle of 360 would be a complete rotation, so no change would be seen. 180 is the halfway mark, which will turn your object upside down, and any numbers in between will move your object somewhere along the 360 spectrum. Let's move on to the Mirror Selected Objects tool. This is a very handy tool, especially if you're looking to create a symmetrical design of any kind. There are 2 main functions of the Mirror tool. You can flip your object, or you can create copies of your object that mirror the original. Let's start with a flip. You can flip an object on its center axis using these buttons here, choosing whether you want to flip it left to right, being a horizontal flip, or up and down, meaning to vertically flip it. If you are aiming to flip your current object and not add any new vectors, you will want to make sure that the Create a Mirrored Copy box is unchecked. When you hit the Flip Horizontal button, it will keep the same bounding box but flip the object inside like so. The features that were originally on the left will now be on the right and vice versa. The same is true of the Flip Vertical button, only the features from the top of the object will now be on the bottom, again within the same parameters of the original object. Now let's say you have made a design on the left half of your workspace, and you would like it to be repeated on the other side in a symmetrical way. First, we select the object we wish to duplicate, make sure that Create a Mirrored Copy box is checked, and now we will also check the Flip About Job Center box as well. Once we hit the Flip Horizontal button, you can see that the software has made an exact mirror image of our object on the other side of the workspace. You can see the distance from the center line is the same for both the old and the newly created object. The software automatically knows which side you're working on, meaning if you put your design on the right side and follow the same steps, it will create the duplicate on the left side. If your object is not entirely on one side, the new object will have areas that overlap with the original object. The same can be done with the Flip Vertical option. If your design is on the top half, the duplicate will appear on the bottom and vice versa, following the same principles. The last option for flipping allows you to flip an object over a line other than the center line. Once you have placed a line which you would like to flip your object over, select both your object and the line, then hit the Flip About Line button here. The software will flip the object over the selected line. If you're aiming to make a whole symmetrical shape, remember you will need to join the vectors afterwards to make it a single object. The other option for flipping your object are the buttons on top here. If you want to flip your current object and not create a new one, you can again uncheck the Create a Mirrored Copy box at the bottom of the form. This will manipulate the selected object and not create any new vectors. The way these buttons are different from the two we previously used is that they will flip the object over the edge of the bounding box rather than the center axis. So if you select an object and then hit the top button, it will flip the object over the top, while hitting the left button would flip the object over the left side of the bounding box. If you select the Create a Mirrored Copy box, you will create a mirrored duplicate of your original object in the direction specified. This creates an easy way to make a bunch of shapes on a workspace quickly if needed. Notice that when creating a mirrored copy, the new creation is automatically selected, meaning you could make a long string of objects with just a few clicks, like so. Now we are going to move on to a very interesting tool that is called the Distort Selected Objects tool. With this tool, you can change the shape of an object in unique ways. The Distort tool creates an envelope around the object to allow you to transform it more freely. First up, we have the option of creating a bounding box around an object to bend it in different ways. You see this star? If I move these points in the regular transform object mode, it adjusts the object size. Now, if I take that same star and apply the bounding box option in the Distort Object Properties box, I now have a square envelope surrounding the star. Moving the points in this envelope changes the star by bending the lines to fit the new shape of the envelope. You can use the bounding box distortion on a single object, like a circle or a square, changing the look of the object completely. After distorting, you can edit the envelope at any time by going back to the distortion tool and selecting Edit Envelope down here, allowing you to make further adjustments if needed. You can also go into node editing mode and adjust the envelope there as well. After distorting an object, you may decide to bake in your changes, which will make them permanent, and the object will become a vector which can be edited like any other in node editing mode and such. See how in node editing mode, the star still has the envelope around it. Now if I go back to the distortion tool and click the Bake Distortion option, the star looks the same, but if I go to node editing mode now, you see that the envelope is gone and I have all the normal vector controls available to me. You can also apply the bounding box distortion to a group of objects. Like with these stars, the bounding box surrounds all of them and distorts the group as a whole. Note that doing this will permanently group the vectors inside the envelope until you bake it. Now we can move on to other distortion options available. First, you have the Above a Single Curve option. This will take the bottom of your object and align it with a curve you have selected, much like the Fit Text to Curve option we discussed in the last video. See here, I have a rectangle and a curve I've created below it. Now select your rectangle, hold Shift, and select the curved line. In the Properties box, select Above a Single Curve and hit Apply. Now you see it has taken the bottom edge of the rectangle and fit it perfectly to the curve I selected, distorting the rest of the shape in the process. You can do this with any type of line. Here are some examples. All of these shapes started out as simple rectangles. Now, for even more control, you can choose two lines, and the software will distort the object to fit between them using the Between Two Curves option. Like before, select the object to be distorted, then hold down Shift, and select the curve to use as the bottom, and then the one to use as the top. It is important to select them in that order. If not, you may get an invalid selection warning and not be able to apply the distortion. Once you have them selected properly, you simply hit Apply, and your shape will appear between the two lines. The shape you start with does matter. As you can see here, I have used identical lines to distort both a rectangle and a circle. The resulting shape is different because the starting shapes were different. You can also use this feature to distort text in the same way. You will want to select your text, hold down Shift, and then select the line for the bottom of the text, and then select the line for the top. If you reverse the order, the text will be upside down or backwards. Then hit Apply. Distorting text like this will change the text to vectors, so make sure you're happy with your spelling and font before distorting your text. Now we will go into the tool I probably use the most out of all of these transforming options, the alignment tools. These tools allow you to move an object to a particular alignment in relation to either the material or a selection. Let's start with aligning to the material. These options are located at the top of the Alignment Tools property box. They will allow you to move your object to the center of your material horizontally, vertically, or both. To do this, simply select the object you wish to move and hit the button. The software will automatically change the coordinates and your object will move accordingly. So let's say we have a few circles here. You can see the current coordinates of the object down here. Now if I hit the first button, it will move the circle to the center of the material, and you can see that the x-coordinate has changed to 0, and there is an equal amount of space on either side of the circle. Now, if I take another circle and hit the third button, you can see that the y-coordinates for it have changed to 0, and there is an equal amount of space both above and below the circle. Finally, if I take this circle and hit the middle button, you will see that it moves to the exact center of the document, and the circle's center coordinates are now 0, 0. The ability to move an object or objects to the center of your workspace is a great tool, especially if you zero your machine to the center, which we do, allowing you to easily place your carving exactly where you want it on a piece. You can do this right away while you are designing or when you are finished to make sure your design is perfectly centered. To do that, just select everything and hit this button and you know it will be perfectly centered. Below that, we have options to align an object to a selection. Let's say you have a box in the corner here, and you would like one of the circles to be in the exact center of that box. You simply select a circle, hold down Shift, and select the box. Always choose the item you don't wish to move last. Hit this button and the circle will move to the center of the box. The same process allows you to move the circle to the center, to any inside edge, or to an outside edge, just by choosing these different options here. Watch how many different locations I can get the circle to just by using these buttons. You can move more than one object at a time this way, but they will all move individually to the center, causing overlap unless you group the objects first. The Space Selection tool allows you to evenly space things across the material. Let's say you used the mirror function, like earlier, to create a line of circles, but you want them spaced evenly across the material. First, move the last circle to where you want it to be, then select all the circles and hit the Horizontal Space Selection button. It will move the other circles to be spaced evenly between the first and the last one. In addition to that, you can have it evenly space things inside a vector as well. Let's say we want a series of small squares inside our larger square here. Simply create a line of squares, select them all, hold down Shift, select your big square, check the inside last vector box, and hit both buttons. Now the small squares are evenly spaced inside the larger square. Finally, at the bottom of the Alignment Tools Properties box, you have the option to display some of the alignment tools on the Main Drawing tab. If you check the box and then go out to the Main tab, you will see a new section has been added with many of the alignment buttons. Note that the solid white buttons represent aligning to material, while the more gray ones are aligning to a selection. And that's our look at using the Transform Object tools in Vectric VCarve Pro. I hope I've shown you ways to utilize these tools to make your designing a bit easier. As always, leave us a like and subscribe if you want to see us continue to make more content like this. If you have questions or comments about this topic or other topics you would like us to cover, leave a comment down below. We do read them. And until next time, have fun and stay safe in the shop.